Katie had her doctor appointment scheduled for Thursday morning. She always went alone because Jake had to work and the visits were usually quick and simple. But when Thursday came, Rex had other plans. Katie put on her shoes and grabbed her purse. Rex immediately started whining and blocking the front door. She tried to move around him, but he stepped in front of her again. This had become their morning routine, but today Rex seemed more upset than usual. "I have to go to the doctor, Rex," Katie said gently. "You can't come with me this time." Rex tilted his head and made a sound that was almost like talking. It wasn't quite a bark or a whine. It sounded like he was trying to form words. Katie had never heard him make that noise before. She knelt down and looked into his eyes. "I'll be back in 2 hours. I promise." Rex paced around her in circles and whined louder. When Katie finally managed to get outside, Rex ran to the fence and started digging underneath it. Katie had never seen him try to escape the yard before. She got in her car quickly and drove away, but she could hear Rex howling behind her. At the medical center, Katie parked and walked toward the building. The appointment went normally. Dr. Williams checked the baby's heartbeat and measured Katie's belly. Everything looked good. The baby was healthy and growing well. Katie was relieved, but she couldn't stop thinking about Rex's strange behavior that morning. When Katie came out of the building, she stopped walking. Rex was sitting next to her car. Somehow he had escaped from their yard and found his way to the medical center. The parking lot was 15 minutes away from their house. Katie had no idea how Rex had gotten there so quickly. Rex ran to her and jumped up to put his paws on her shoulders. He whined and licked her face like he hadn't seen her in days. Other people in the parking lot stared at them. A security guard walked over to see what was happening. "Is this your dog, miss?" the guard asked. He looked concerned about having a loose animal on the property. "Yes, this is Rex. I don't know how he got here. He was at home when I left." The security guard looked confused. "He's been here for about an hour. He was sitting by your car when I started my shift." "How did he know which car was yours?" Katie had no answer for that question. She thanked the guard and put Rex in the car. During the drive home, Rex sat in the passenger seat and stared at her. He didn't look out the windows like he usually did. He kept his eyes on Katie the entire time. When they got home, Katie discovered that Rex had dug a hole under the fence big enough to crawl through. The hole was perfectly sized for his body. It looked like he had planned his escape carefully. Jake was going to be angry about the damage to their yard. That night, Rex's howling got much louder. The sound echoed through the neighborhood and went on for hours. At midnight, Katie's phone rang. It was their neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. "Katie, I'm sorry to call so late, but Rex is keeping my whole family awake. This has been going on for weeks now. Is everything okay over there?" Katie apologized and promised to do something about the noise. She went outside to bring Rex inside, but he refused to come. He was standing in the middle of the yard looking up at the sky and howling. When Katie called his name, he looked at her and then went back to howling. The next morning, Katie got another phone call. This time it was from someone she didn't recognize. "This is Officer Dan Hughes with the local police. We've received several noise complaints about a dog at your address. I need to come by and talk to you about the situation." Katie felt embarrassed and worried. She had never had police come to her house before. She told Officer Hughes that she would be home all day, and he could come by whenever it was convenient. Officer Hughes arrived around noon. He was a tall man with kind eyes who seemed genuinely concerned rather than angry. Katie invited him inside, and Rex immediately came over to investigate the visitor. But instead of being wary of the stranger, Rex seemed to like Officer Hughes right away. "This is Rex," Katie said. "He's the one who's been making all the noise." Officer Hughes knelt down and let Rex sniff his hand. Rex sat down and looked directly into the officer's eyes. Then Rex did something that made both Katie and Officer Hughes freeze. Rex opened his mouth and made a sound that was clearly meant to be words. It sounded like he was saying, "Help." "Did that dog just try to talk?" Officer Hughes asked. Katie nodded slowly. "He's been making sounds like that for the past few days. It's like he's trying to communicate something important." Officer Hughes stood up and looked around the house. Rex immediately led him toward the basement door. When they got close to the door, Rex started whining and pawing at it. Then he looked back at Officer Hughes and made the talking sound again. "Has Rex always acted protective of you?" Officer Hughes asked. "Not like this. This behavior started about a month ago. He won't let me go anywhere alone, and he especially won't let me go in the basement." Officer Hughes wrote notes in a small notebook. He asked Katie several questions about when Rex's behavior had started. and what exactly the dog did each day. He seemed very interested in the timing of Rex's agitation and the way the dog tried to communicate. "I've been a police officer for 15 years, Officer Hughes said. "I've seen a lot of strange things, but I've never seen a dog behave quite like this. Rex seems to be trying to tell us something specific. The way he's looking at us and trying to make words isn't normal animal behavior." Officer Hughes asked if he could look around the basement. Katie agreed, and they went downstairs together. Rex followed them but stayed very close to Katie. The basement looked normal to Katie and Officer Hughes. There were no obvious problems like gas leaks or water damage. But Rex acted very strangely in the basement. He kept sniffing one corner of the room and whining. The corner looked empty to Katie and Officer Hughes, but Rex seemed convinced something important was there. He pawed at the floor and looked back at them like he was pointing something out. "I'm going to file a report about this visit," Officer Hughes said as they went back upstairs. "Not because you're in trouble, but because Rex's behavior is so unusual. Sometimes animal behavior can indicate problems that humans can't detect. I want to make sure the right people know about this situation." After Officer Hughes left, Katie felt more worried than ever. If a police officer thought Rex's behavior was strange enough to file a report, then something serious might be happening. She decided to call Jake at work and ask him to come home early. She didn't want to be alone with Rex acting so strangely. But when Katie tried to call Jake, her phone had no signal. She checked their landline phone and it was dead too. Rex immediately came over and nudged her toward the front door. It was like he knew the phones weren't working and wanted her to leave the house. For the first time, Katie wondered if Rex was trying to protect her from something inside their own home. Katie Morrison rubbed her swollen belly as she walked into the kitchen. 8 months pregnant and feeling every day of it. Her German Shepherd mix Rex followed close behind, closer than usual. The dog had been acting strange for weeks now, and Katie couldn't figure out why. Rex whined softly and nudged her leg with his nose. This was new behavior for him. He had always been a calm dog who listened well and never caused trouble. Now he seemed nervous all the time. His ears stayed up and alert even when nothing was happening. His tail stayed low and he panted even when it wasn't hot outside. "What's wrong, boy?" Katie asked as she reached down to pet his head. Rex looked up at her with worried eyes. He whined again and gently pawed at her belly. Katie felt uncomfortable when he did this. It wasn't painful, but something about it felt wrong. Rex had never shown interest in her pregnancy before. He had barely noticed when her belly started growing. Jake walked into the kitchen carrying his coffee cup. He kissed Katie on the cheek and looked down at Rex, who was still pawing at her stomach. "He's doing it again," Katie said. "I don't understand why he keeps touching my belly like that." Jake shrugged and took a sip of his coffee. Dogs can sense pregnancy. He probably knows the baby is coming soon. Animals are smart about these things. But Katie wasn't convinced. This felt different from normal dog behavior. Rex wasn't just aware of the pregnancy. He seemed worried about it. When she tried to leave the house alone, Rex would block the door. He would stand in front of her and refuse to move. If she managed to get past him, he would howl until she came back. The neighbors had started complaining about the noise. Yesterday, Katie had tried to go grocery shopping by herself. Rex had followed her to the car and jumped in before she could stop him. When she tried to get him out, he growled at her. Rex had never growled at Katie before. It scared her so much that she decided to take him with her to the store. At the grocery store, Rex had behaved even stranger. He stayed right next to her cart the whole time. When other people came near Katie, he would step between them and her. He didn't threaten anyone, but he made it clear he was protecting her. Other shoppers gave them strange looks. Some moved to different aisles to avoid them. Now Rex was doing something new. He kept walking to the basement door and scratching at it. Then he would come back to Katie and whine. When Katie tried to go toward the basement, Rex would get in her way. He would push against her legs and guide her away from the door. This had been going on for 3 days. "Maybe we should call the vet," Katie said to Jake. "Rex isn't acting normal. Something is wrong with him." Jake looked down at the dog, who was now lying on the floor with his head on his paws. Rex's eyes moved back and forth between Katie and the basement door. "He looks fine to me. You're probably just overthinking things because you're pregnant." Dogs pick up on stress, but Katie knew this was more than stress. Rex seemed to be trying to tell her something important. The way he looked at her reminded her of how people looked when they were trying to communicate without words. His behavior had patterns to it. He was most agitated in the morning around 8 o'clock and again at night around 10 o'clock. These were the exact times when Katie felt most tired during her pregnancy. That night, Katie lay in bed listening to Rex pace around the house. She could hear his nails clicking on the hardwood floors as he walked from room to room. Every few minutes he would stop and whine. The whining was getting louder each night. It sounded almost like he was trying to howl but was holding back. Around 10 o'clock, Rex started his nightly ritual. He would go to the front door and sniff around it. Then he would go to each window in the house and stand on his back legs to look outside. After checking all the windows, he would come to Katie and Jake's bedroom door and scratch softly. When Katie got up to see what he wanted, Rex would lead her away from the basement. "This is getting ridiculous," Jake said as Katie got back into bed. "We need to do something about this. I can't sleep with all that noise." Katie agreed, but she was worried about Rex. The dog was clearly upset about something. She had never seen him act this way before. Rex was usually confident and relaxed. Now he seemed afraid. But what could a dog be afraid of in their own house? The next morning, Katie called their veterinarian, Dr. Smith. She explained Rex's strange behavior and asked if they could bring him in for a checkup. Dr. Smith said it sounded like Rex might be having anxiety issues related to the pregnancy. Many dogs became protective when their owners were expecting babies. But when Katie mentioned that Rex wouldn't let her near the basement, Dr. Smith became more interested. He asked her to describe exactly what Rex did when she tried to go downstairs. Katie explained how Rex would block her path and guide her away from the basement door. "That's unusual behavior," Dr. Smith said. "Most protective dogs would follow you everywhere, including the basement. If Rex is specifically keeping you away from one area of the house, there might be something down there that's bothering him. Dogs have much better senses than humans. They can smell and hear things we can't." Dr. Smith suggested that Katie and Jake check the basement carefully. Maybe there was a gas leak or some other problem that Rex could detect. But they couldn't. He also recommended bringing Rex in for an examination to make sure he wasn't sick. Katie hung up the phone feeling more worried than before. If Rex was trying to protect her from something in the basement, what could it be? She had been down there just a few weeks ago to do laundry and hadn't noticed anything unusual. But now that she thought about it, Rex had been acting strange for about that long. She decided to ask Jake to check the basement when he got home from work. Maybe Dr. Smith was right and there was something down there that only Rex could sense. Dogs were known for detecting gas leaks and other dangers that humans missed. But deep down, Katie felt like this was something bigger than a simple household problem. Rex's behavior was too intense and too focused for a minor issue. As she watched Rex pace around the living room, Katie couldn't shake the feeling that her dog was trying to save her from something terrible. 3 days after Officer Hughes filed his report, a black car pulled into Katie's driveway. Katie watched from her living room window as a woman in a dark suit got out of the car. Rex immediately started whining and pacing around the room. The woman walked to the front door and knocked. Katie opened the door and the woman showed her a badge. "I'm Agent Lisa Park with the FBI. I need to talk to you about your dog and some recent incidents that have been reported." Katie felt her stomach drop. Why would the FBI be interested in Rex's behavior? She invited Agent Park inside and offered her coffee. Rex came over to investigate the visitor, but this time he didn't seem friendly. He stood between Katie and Agent Park and watched the agent carefully. "Officer Hughes filed an interesting report about your dog," Agent Park said as she sat down on the couch. "He mentioned that Rex seems to be trying to communicate and has been showing protective behavior toward you, specifically during your pregnancy." "Yes, that's right. Rex has been acting strange for about a month now. We don't understand why." Agent Park opened a folder and showed Katie several photographs. The photos showed different dogs in different locations, but they were all behaving similarly to Rex. Some were German shepherds like Rex, but others were different breeds. In every photo, the dogs were near pregnant women and looked agitated or protective. These photos were taken in 17 different states over the past 6 weeks, Agent Park said. "Every one of these dogs belongs to a pregnant woman. Every dog has started showing the same behaviors that Rex is showing. They try to communicate with sounds that seem like words. They become extremely protective. And they all seem to be trying to keep their owners away from specific areas of their homes." Katie stared at the photos in shock. She had thought Rex's behavior was unique to their situation. Seeing so many other dogs acting the same way was frightening. What does this mean? Why are all these dogs acting the same way? That's what we're trying to figure out, Agent Park said. We think there might be a connection between the dog's behavior and something that's affecting pregnant women. We need to run some tests to find out what's happening. Agent Park explained that the FBI had been investigating these cases for 2 weeks. They had noticed patterns in the reports that suggested something unusual was happening. All of the affected women were in their 3rd trimester of pregnancy. All of the dogs had started acting strange around the same time. And all of the incidents had been reported in areas with specific geographic features. We'd like to set up some monitoring equipment in your house, Agent Park said. We want to measure electromagnetic fields, temperature changes, and air quality. We also want to take some blood samples from both you and Rex to check for any unusual substances. Katie felt overwhelmed by all this information. A month ago, her biggest worry was getting ready for the baby. Now the FBI was telling her that Rex's behavior might be connected to something affecting pregnant women across the country. She agreed to let them run the tests. Agent Park made several phone calls, and within 2 hours, Katie's house was full of government agents. They set up strange-looking equipment in every room, including the basement. Rex watched everything they did with intense interest. When the agents went into the basement, Rex followed them but stayed very close to Katie. One of the agents called Agent Park over to look at a device that was beeping rapidly. They were standing in the corner of the basement where Rex always whined and pawed at the floor. The agent said something quietly to Agent Park, and she looked very concerned. "We're detecting unusual electromagnetic activity in this area," Agent Park told Katie. "The readings are much higher than normal. This might explain why Rex has been acting protective. Dogs can sense electromagnetic fields that humans can't detect." The agents spent the rest of the day taking measurements and collecting samples. They took blood from Katie and Rex and scraped samples from the walls and floors of the basement. Rex cooperated with everything, but he never left Katie's side. When the agents tried to separate them for testing, Rex became agitated and refused to participate. That evening, Agent Park sat down with Katie to explain what they had found so far. "The electromagnetic readings in your basement are definitely abnormal. We're also detecting trace amounts of substances that don't match anything in our databases. Rex seems to be able to sense these things much better than any of our equipment can." Agent Park showed Katie more files with information about the other cases. In every situation, the dogs had been trying to protect their pregnant owners from something in their homes. Some dogs had refused to let their owners enter certain rooms. Others had tried to dig holes in specific areas like Rex had done in the basement corner. "We think Rex and the other dogs are detecting some kind of threat that we haven't identified yet," Agent Park said. "Their protective behavior suggests they're trying to warn you about something dangerous. We need to figure out what that threat is before we can determine how to handle it." Katie asked if she and Jake were in danger. Agent Park said they weren't sure yet, but they wanted to be careful. She suggested that Katie stay somewhere else until they finished their investigation. Katie didn't want to leave her home, but she was worried about the baby. Agent Park set up a temporary command center in a van parked outside Katie's house. She explained that they would monitor the house 24 hours a day and continue collecting data. If anything changed or if Rex's behavior escalated, they would respond immediately. That night, Katie and Jake stayed at her mother's house. Rex came with them, but he was clearly unhappy about leaving. He whined and paced around the unfamiliar house all night. Every few hours, he would go to the front door and scratch at it like he wanted to go back home. Jake was having trouble understanding why the FBI was involved in their situation. He kept asking Katie questions she couldn't answer. Why would the government care about dogs acting protective? What kind of threat could be hiding in their basement that only animals could detect? Katie wished she had answers, but Agent Park hadn't told them very much. The next morning, Agent Park called Katie with an update. The overnight monitoring had detected several spikes in electromagnetic activity. The spikes occurred at regular intervals and seemed to be getting stronger. The agents had also found more trace substances in the basement that they were analyzing. "We're bringing in specialists from several different agencies," Agent Park said. "This situation is more complex than we initially thought. The patterns we're seeing suggest this might not be a localized problem. We think what's happening in your house might be connected to a much larger issue." Agent Park asked Katie to bring Rex back to the house so they could observe his behavior with the new monitoring equipment. She assured Katie that it would be safe and that they would have medical personnel standing by just in case. When Katie and Rex arrived at the house, Rex immediately ran to the basement door. But this time his behavior was different. Instead of trying to keep Katie away from the basement, Rex seemed to want her to follow him downstairs. He kept looking back at her and making the talking sounds that had become more frequent and clear over the past few days. Agent Park and her team followed Katie and Rex into the basement. Rex went directly to the corner where the electromagnetic readings were highest. He started digging at the floor and whining urgently. The agents used ground-penetrating radar to scan the area where Rex was digging. What they found changed everything. The ground-penetrating radar showed something buried 3 feet below the basement floor. Agent Park ordered her team to carefully excavate the area where Rex had been digging. As they removed the concrete and dirt, Katie felt increasingly nervous. Rex sat next to her and watched every movement the agents made. After 2 hours of careful digging, the agents uncovered something that made everyone in the basement step back in shock. It was a massive organic material that looked like a cross between a plant and a machine. The object was about the size of a basketball and had root-like tendrils extending in all directions. It pulsed with a faint blue light that got brighter and dimmer in regular intervals. "What is that thing?" Katie whispered. She had never seen anything like it before. The object looked alive but also artificial. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Agent Park was talking rapidly into her radio, calling for additional specialists. She told Katie and Jake to move away from the excavation site, while her team secured the area. Rex refused to leave Katie's side, but he seemed calmer now that the object had been uncovered. It was like he had been waiting for this moment. Within an hour, the house was filled with scientists and military personnel. They set up a containment field around the strange object and began taking detailed measurements. Katie watched from upstairs as people in protective suits carefully examined what they had found in her basement. Dr. Helen Carter arrived from the Centers for Disease Control and immediately took charge of the scientific investigation. She was a small woman with gray hair who spoke with authority and moved with purpose. She spent an hour examining the object before coming upstairs to talk to Katie. "We need to run some additional tests on you and your baby," Dr. Carter said. "This object appears to be some kind of biological transmitter. We've detected signals coming from it that match frequencies known to affect human neural development." Katie felt scared for the first time since this all began. "Is my baby in danger? Has this thing been hurting us?" Dr. Carter explained that they needed more information before they could answer those questions. She took Katie to a mobile medical unit that had been set up outside the house. The tests were more extensive than anything Katie had experienced before. They took multiple blood samples, scanned her brain activity, and did detailed ultrasounds of the baby. While Katie was being tested, Rex waited outside the medical unit. He had become much calmer since the object was discovered, but he still wouldn't leave Katie alone. Agent Park noticed that Rex seemed to understand what was happening around him in ways that normal dogs shouldn't. His behavior was more like a person than an animal. The test results came back within hours. Dr. Carter called Agent Park and Katie into a private room to discuss what they had found. Her expression was serious, and Katie prepared herself for bad news. "Katie, we've found microscopic organisms in your bloodstream that we've never seen before," Dr. Carter said. "They appear to be some kind of parasite, but they're unlike anything in our medical databases. These organisms seem to be designed to cross the blood-brain barrier during pregnancy." Katie felt like the room was spinning. "Are you saying something has infected me and my baby?" "The organisms aren't harming you directly, but they are affecting your developing child's brain chemistry. They appear to be altering neural development in very specific ways. We think the object in your basement has been controlling these organisms and monitoring their progress." Agent Park showed Katie images from the tests. The microscopic organisms looked like tiny machines with biological components. They were concentrated in Katie's bloodstream and had been detected in the placenta surrounding her baby. The organisms seemed to be communicating with each other and with the object in the basement. "Rex has been trying to protect you from this infection," Dr. Carter explained. "Dogs have much better senses than humans and can detect chemical changes that we can't perceive. Rex somehow knew that something was wrong and was trying to keep you away from the source of the problem." But there was more disturbing news. The object in Katie's basement wasn't unique. Similar objects had been found at the homes of other pregnant women, whose dogs had been acting strangely. The FBI had coordinated excavations at 17 different locations and found identical transmitters buried beneath each house. This appears to be a coordinated effort affecting pregnant women across multiple states, Agent Park said. The organisms in your bloodstream are communicating with similar organisms in other women. The transmitters seem to be part of a larger network. Dr. Carter explained that the organisms were designed to remain dormant until the third trimester of pregnancy. This was when the developing brain was most susceptible to outside influence. The timing of Rex's behavioral changes matched exactly with when the organisms became active in Katie's system. We think these organisms are preparing your baby's brain for some kind of external control, Dr. Carter said. The neural pathways being altered suggest that someone or something is trying to influence how your child's mind develops. Katie felt sick and terrified. Someone had infected her and her unborn baby with alien parasites that were changing her child's brain. The thought was too horrible to fully understand. She asked if the organisms could be removed safely. Dr. Carter looked uncomfortable. The organisms are deeply integrated into your bloodstream and the baby's developing nervous system. Trying to remove them now could cause severe brain damage or death. We need to find another solution. Agent Park revealed that they had been working with international agencies to investigate similar cases worldwide. The pattern was global, with pregnant women in dozens of countries showing signs of infection. The transmitters had been found on every continent except Antarctica. This is clearly not a natural phenomenon, Agent Park said. The level of coordination and the advanced technology involved suggests that we're dealing with an intelligence far beyond human capabilities. The question is whether this intelligence is human or something else. Rex had been allowed into the room during the discussion, and he seemed to understand what was being said. When Dr. Carter mentioned the possibility that the organisms couldn't be removed, Rex walked over to Katie and placed his head on her belly. He made soft sounds that were clearly meant to be comforting. Then Rex did something that amazed everyone in the room. He looked directly at Dr. Carter and said in clear English, "Help, baby. Save Katie." His voice was rough and strange, but the words were unmistakable. Dr. Carter stared at Rex in shock. How is he able to speak? Dogs don't have the vocal cords or brain structure necessary for human speech. Agent Park was equally amazed. Rex has been trying to communicate for weeks, but we thought he was just making random sounds. You're telling us he's actually learned to talk. Dr. Carter ran additional tests on Rex and discovered that his brain showed signs of the same neural enhancement that was happening to Katie's baby. The difference was that Rex's brain was fully developed, so the changes enhanced his existing intelligence rather than altering his basic neural structure. The organisms seem to affect different species in different ways, Dr. Carter explained. In adult dogs, they enhance existing cognitive abilities. In developing human brains, they appear to be creating new neural pathways for purposes we don't yet understand. Rex's enhanced intelligence meant that he had been aware of the threat to Katie and her baby from the beginning. He had been trying to protect them while also learning to communicate with humans. His strange behavior had been a desperate attempt to warn Katie about something he could detect but couldn't explain until now. As night fell, the team of investigators continued, analyzing the transmitter and the organisms found in Katie's blood. But they were running out of time. Other pregnant women around the world were reaching the end of their pregnancies, and the organisms in their systems were becoming more active, whatever was controlling the parasites was preparing for the next phase of their plan. Agent Park's phone rang constantly as reports came in from around the world. Similar transmitters had been found in countries across 6 continents. The scope of the operation was far beyond anything the FBI had ever encountered. Katie sat in the command center listening to conversations in multiple languages as international agencies coordinated their response. Dr. Carter had been working with teams in 12 different countries to analyze the organisms found in pregnant women. The results were consistent everywhere. The parasites were identical regardless of location, and all showed signs of having been engineered by an advanced intelligence. The precision of their design ruled out any natural evolution. We've traced the origin of the infection to contaminated water supplies in major metropolitan areas. Dr. Carter told Katie and Agent Park the organisms were introduced approximately 18 months ago through municipal water systems in cities with populations over 1 million people. Katie felt overwhelmed by the scale of what Dr. Carter was describing. Millions of people had been exposed to the parasites through their drinking water. The infection had spread slowly and remained undetected until pregnant women in their 3rd trimester started showing symptoms. Rex sat next to Katie throughout the briefings and occasionally made comments in his rough but clear voice. His enhanced intelligence allowed him to understand complex concepts, and he often asked questions that helped the scientists focus their research. His unique perspective as an enhanced animal gave him insights that the human investigators missed. "Why only pregnant women?" Rex asked during one discussion about the parasite's behavior. His question prompted Dr. Carter to examine the timing of the infections more carefully. The analysis revealed that the organisms remained completely dormant in non-pregnant hosts. They showed no activity in men, children, or women who weren't expecting babies. The parasites only became active when they detected the specific hormone changes associated with the third trimester of pregnancy. The organisms are programmed to activate when the developing brain is most vulnerable to outside influence, Dr. Carter explained. They've been waiting in dormant hosts for exactly the right moment to begin their work. International teams had been monitoring electromagnetic signals from the transmitters found around the world. The signals followed complex patterns that suggested they were part of a sophisticated communication network. Each transmitter was both receiving and sending information to create a global web of connected devices. Agent Park showed Katie a map displaying the locations of all known transmitters. They formed a precise grid pattern that covered populated areas on every continent. The mathematical precision of the placement confirmed that this was a planned operation carried out by an intelligence with detailed knowledge of human population centers. "Whoever is behind this has been studying us for a long time," Agent Park said. "They know our cities, our infrastructure, and our biology better than we know ourselves. This level of planning suggests they've been preparing for this operation for years or even decades." Rex listened to this discussion with obvious concern. He had been enhanced by the same organisms that were infecting pregnant women, but his adult brain allowed him to maintain his own personality and loyalty to Katie. The parasites were using him as an unintended test subject for their enhancement technology. "Rex, can you tell us anything about how the enhancement process works?" Dr. Carter asked. "Do you remember when your intelligence began to change?" Rex thought carefully before answering. Changes started slowly. First, better hearing and smell. Then understanding human words better. Then learning to make words myself. Changes still happening now. This information helped Dr. Carter understand the timeline of the parasite's activity. Rex's enhancement had begun around the same time that Katie's pregnancy entered the third trimester. The organisms had used Rex as a practice subject while preparing to modify Katie's unborn baby. The international investigation revealed that governments around the world had been detecting unusual electromagnetic activity for months without understanding its significance. Military installations had reported equipment malfunctions in areas where transmitters were later discovered. Satellite communications had been experiencing interference that followed the same patterns as the transmitter signals. The network has been growing stronger as more transmitters come online, Agent Park explained. Each new active transmitter increases the power of the entire system. "We think they're building up to some kind of major event." Katie asked what kind of event they might be preparing for. The answer came from an unexpected source. Rex had been listening to radio communications between the transmitters using his enhanced hearing. The signals were too faint for human ears or normal electronic equipment to detect, but Rex could hear them clearly. "They talk about harvest," Rex said quietly. "Soon harvest begins. Babies ready for harvest." The word harvest sent chills through everyone in the command center. Dr. Carter immediately contacted her international colleagues to share this information. Within hours, teams around the world confirmed that pregnant women near transmitter sites were all approaching their due dates. The timing was too precise to be coincidental. "The organisms have been monitoring the development of every infected baby," Dr. Carter said. "They're coordinating the timing so that all the enhanced children will be born within the same time frame. This suggests they're planning to activate something when the babies are delivered." Agent Park coordinated with military leaders to discuss possible responses to this threat. But the parasites had chosen their strategy well. Any attempt to remove the transmitters or interfere with the organisms risked harming thousands of pregnant women and their babies. The network had been designed to use human maternal instincts as a shield against retaliation. Rex provided more intelligence by continuing to monitor the transmitter communications. He reported that the signals were becoming more frequent and complex As the network approached some kind of activation threshold, the organisms seemed to be preparing for a major phase transition in their operation. They wait for signal from far away, Rex told the team. Big signal coming soon. When big signal arrives, everything changes, Dr. Carter's international colleagues had been analyzing the electromagnetic signatures from the transmitters and detected patterns that suggested the devices were pointed toward specific coordinates in space. Radio telescopes confirmed that there was indeed something approaching from the outer solar system. The object was still too distant to see clearly, but it was transmitting signals that matched the frequency of the parasite's communication network. We're not just dealing with an earthbound threat, Agent Park said grimly. This appears to be the advance phase of an invasion that's been in progress for almost 2 years. The parasites and transmitters are preparing the way for whatever is approaching from space. Katie felt terrified for her unborn baby and for all the other women who had been infected. The parasites had turned their pregnancies into weapons against humanity. Their natural desire to protect their children was being used to prevent any effective response to the invasion. But Rex offered a different perspective. His enhancement had given him abilities that the parasites hadn't anticipated. His loyalty to Katie and his growing intelligence made him an unexpected ally in the fight against the invasion. He suggested that other enhanced animals around the world might be having similar experiences. Dogs and cats near transmitters all changing, Rex said. Some learning to talk like me, some learning other things, animals not following parasite plan. This revelation gave the investigation team their first hope. The parasites had enhanced animals as an unintended side effect of their operation, but animals retained their emotional bonds with humans while gaining new cognitive abilities. They were becoming a network of enhanced allies that the invaders hadn't planned. Agent Park immediately contacted her colleagues around the world to begin identifying and communicating with enhanced animals. If Rex was right, they might have inadvertently created an army of intelligent allies who could help protect their human families from the coming invasion. But time was running out. The signal from space was getting stronger, and the babies infected with parasites were almost ready to be born. Whatever the invaders had planned would begin very soon. Dr. Carter's team made a disturbing discovery when they excavated more of Katie's basement. The transmitter they had found was just the visible part of a much larger structure. Root-like tendrils extended throughout the foundation of the house, connecting to water pipes, electrical systems, and even the natural gas lines. The entire house had become part of the alien communication network. This explains why Rex was so determined to keep you away from the basement, Dr. Carter told Katie. The transmitter has been using your home's infrastructure to monitor everything that happens inside. Every conversation, every movement, every biological function has been recorded and transmitted. Katie felt violated knowing that her privacy had been invaded for months without her knowledge. The aliens had been watching her pregnancy develop and collecting data about her baby's growth. They knew more about her child than she did. The thought made her feel sick and angry. Rex had been exploring the excavated area and made sounds of distress when he discovered how extensive the alien technology was. He could see and hear things that the human investigators couldn't detect. His enhanced senses revealed that the transmitter network was far more sophisticated than anyone had realized. Metal roots go everywhere, Rex said as he sniffed around the exposed tendrils. Under street, under other houses, all connected like big web. Agent Park ordered ground-penetrating radar surveys of the entire neighborhood. The results confirmed Rex's observations. Every house on Katie's street had similar root systems extending from basement transmitters. The aliens had converted the entire residential area into a monitoring station for dozens of pregnant women. Similar discoveries were being made around the world. International teams found that the transmitters formed interconnected networks covering entire cities. The root systems followed underground infrastructure like water mains and electrical cables. Major metropolitan areas had been turned into giant biological computers designed to monitor and control human reproduction. Dr. Carter analyzed samples from the root systems and found that they contained the same parasites that were infecting pregnant women. The transmitters were living organisms that grew and adapted to their environment. They had been learning about human technology and biology while expanding their network over the past 18 months. These aren't machines in the traditional sense, Dr. Carter explained to Katie and Agent Park. They're living computers that can interface with both biological and technological systems. They've been studying us while we lived our normal lives completely unaware of their presence. The aliens had chosen their strategy carefully. By hiding their technology underground and making it biological rather than mechanical, they had avoided detection by human monitoring systems. The transmitters looked like natural root systems to casual observation, and their electromagnetic signatures had been dismissed as normal infrastructure. Interference, Rex provided more disturbing intelligence about the transmitter's true purpose. His enhanced hearing allowed him to monitor communications between different nodes in the network. The aliens were using pregnant women as biological relay stations to coordinate their invasion plans. Babies not just changed, Rex said quietly. Babies made into transmitters too. When babies born, they become part of network. Network gets stronger with each birth. This revelation horrified Katie and the investigation team. The parasites weren't just modifying unborn children, they were turning them into biological components of an alien communication system. Each infected baby would be born as a living transmitter, capable of coordinating with the broader network. Dr. Carter's analysis of the parasites confirmed Rex's assessment. The organisms were designed to integrate with developing neural tissue in ways that would allow external control of brain function. The enhanced children would appear normal, but would actually be biological extensions of the alien intelligence. Agent Park coordinated with military leaders to discuss possible responses to this discovery. The aliens had created a network that used human children as its core components. Any attempt to destroy the network would require harming thousands of babies. The invaders had designed their system to be morally unacceptable to attack, but Rex suggested that the aliens had made a critical miscalculation. Their enhancement of animals had created an unintended consequence that could potentially disrupt their plans. Enhanced animals retained their emotional bonds with humans while gaining access to the aliens' communication network. Animals can hear network, but network cannot control animals, Rex explained. We enhanced but still loyal to human families. Aliens not understand animal love. This insight led Dr. Carter to examine the differences between how the parasites affected humans and animals. Adult animal brains were already fully developed, so the enhancement process improved existing cognitive abilities without altering basic personality or emotional attachments. Human babies were having their neural development fundamentally rewritten from the ground up. International teams began identifying enhanced animals in cities around the world. Dogs, cats, and other pets near transmitter sites were showing signs of increased intelligence and communication abilities. Many were learning to speak like Rex or developing other enhanced capabilities that allowed them to better protect their human families. The aliens expected us to be helpless against their network, Agent Park said, but they didn't account for the emotional bonds between humans and animals. Our pets are becoming enhanced allies who can access their communication system. Rex worked with other enhanced animals around the world to gather intelligence about the aliens' plans. The network communications revealed that the invasion force was approaching the outer solar system and would arrive within days. The enhanced babies were meant to coordinate the final phase of the invasion by providing local intelligence and control capabilities, but the enhanced animals were learning to interfere with the network communications. Rex demonstrated how he could disrupt transmitter signals by using his enhanced abilities to generate specific electromagnetic frequencies. Other animals were developing similar capabilities that allowed them to sabotage alien equipment. We can fight network from inside, Rex told Katie. Animals understand network, but network not understand animals. We can protect human families. Dr. Carter realized that the enhanced animals represented humanity's best hope for defending against the invasion. They had access to alien technology and intelligence while maintaining their loyalty to humans. They could potentially turn the invaders' own network against them. Katie felt proud of Rex and amazed by what he had become. Her loyal dog had been transformed into something remarkable, but he was still fundamentally the same companion who had always protected her. His love for her and her family had survived the enhancement process and made him a powerful ally against the aliens. The investigation teams began working with enhanced animals to develop countermeasures against the alien network. Time was running out before the invasion force arrived, but humanity now had unexpected allies who understood the enemy's technology. Better than any human scientist, Rex spent hours each day monitoring alien communications, and coordinating with other enhanced animals around the world. He was becoming the leader of a global network of intelligent animals dedicated to protecting their human families from the coming invasion. Aliens think they very smart, Rex said as he listened to transmitter signals. But aliens never had dog friends. They not understand what animals do for family. Katie realized that the aliens' biggest mistake had been underestimating the power of love and loyalty between species. They had enhanced Earth's animals without understanding that emotional bonds could survive and even benefit from increased intelligence. The invaders were about to discover that humanity had allies they had never considered. The network was preparing for the arrival of the main invasion force, but so were the enhanced animals. Rex and his growing army of intelligent companions were ready to fight for their human families, using the aliens' own technology against them. Rex had become more than just an enhanced dog. Over the past week, he had evolved into a translator between human and alien communication systems. His brain could process both types of signals and convert between them, allowing humans to understand what the aliens were planning. Dr. Carter worked closely with Rex to decode the increasingly complex messages flowing through the transmitter network. Main ship arrives in 36 hours. Rex translated during one monitoring session. All ground stations prepare for consciousness transfer protocol. Enhanced offspring ready for full integration. The alien messages revealed that the invasion had been planned as a gradual takeover rather than a violent conquest. The enhanced babies would serve as biological interfaces between alien and human consciousness. Once enough enhanced children were born, the aliens could control human society from within without the need for military force. But Rex also discovered something the aliens hadn't anticipated. Enhanced animals around the world had been quietly sabotaging the transmitter network for days. Dogs, cats, and other pets had been using their new abilities to corrupt data streams and disrupt communications between transmitter nodes. The alien network was operating at only 60% efficiency because of animal interference. Animals everywhere fighting back. Rex reported to Agent Park and Dr. Carter. Network confused because animals not supposed to be smart enough to cause problems. Aliens never planned for animal resistance. International teams coordinated with enhanced animals to expand their sabotage efforts. In Tokyo, an enhanced cat named Yuki had learned to generate electromagnetic pulses that disabled transmitters in her neighborhood. In London, a border collie called Winston was leading a pack of enhanced dogs in systematic attacks on alien root systems throughout the city. The enhanced animals had developed their own communication network that operated independently of the alien transmitters. They used a combination of enhanced vocalizations, electromagnetic signals, and even coordinated behavioral patterns to share information across continents. Rex served as one of the primary coordinators for this growing resistance movement. Katie watched Rex work with amazement and pride. Her dog had become a key figure in humanity's defense against alien invasion. He spent hours each day coordinating with animals around the world, while still maintaining his protective behavior toward her and her unborn baby. His enhanced intelligence had made him more capable but hadn't changed his fundamental loyalty. Dr. Carter made another crucial discovery about the parasite's behavior. The organisms could be influenced by strong emotional states in their hosts. When pregnant women experienced intense feelings of love or protection for their babies, the parasites became less active. The aliens had designed them to respond to neural patterns, but hadn't accounted for the power of human maternal emotions. The parasites are designed to integrate with logical thought processes, Dr. Carter explained, but they're disrupted by intense emotional states that don't follow predictable patterns. Love and protective instincts create neural chaos that the organisms can't interpret or control. This discovery led to a new strategy for protecting infected pregnant women. Families were encouraged to spend time bonding with their unborn babies and focusing on positive emotions about parenthood. The stronger the emotional connection between mother and child, the less control the parasites had over the baby's neural development. Rex played a crucial role in this emotional therapy. His presence had a calming effect on Katie and other pregnant women. When Rex lay next to Katie with his head on her belly, both her stress levels and the parasite's activity decreased significantly. The bond between Katie and Rex seemed to create a protective barrier around her baby. Agent Park coordinated with military leaders around the world to prepare for the aliens' arrival. But traditional weapons would be useless against an enemy that used biological systems and controlled infected human children. The enhanced animals offered the only effective means of fighting back because they could access and disrupt alien technology from within. Rex revealed more details about the aliens' weaknesses through his monitoring of their communications. The invaders had evolved as a highly logical species that relied on predictable patterns and calculated responses. They struggled to understand or counter actions driven by emotion rather than reason. Aliens very smart but not understand feelings, Rex explained. They think all minds work like machines. They're not prepared for minds that choose love over logic. This insight became the foundation for humanity's defense strategy. Instead of trying to match the aliens' technological superiority, humans would rely on emotional bonds and unpredictable responses that the invaders couldn't anticipate or counter. The enhanced animals would serve as the bridge between human emotion and alien technology. International teams began broadcasting coordinated messages of love and defiance through the very transmitter network the aliens had built. Enhanced animals modified the signals to carry emotional content that disrupted alien communication protocols. The network that was meant to control humanity became a weapon for expressing everything that made humans uniquely human. Katie felt her baby moving more actively as her due date approached. Dr. Carter's tests showed that the parasites in Katie's system were becoming increasingly confused by the emotional signals they were receiving. Rex's constant presence and Katie's growing love for her child were creating neural patterns that the organisms couldn't process effectively. "Your baby is fighting back from inside the womb," Dr. Carter told Katie. "The combination of your maternal instincts and Rex's protective influence is preventing the parasites from completing their programming. Your child may be born with enhanced abilities but still fundamentally human." Similar results were being reported from around the world. Pregnant women who had strong emotional support systems and enhanced animal companions were showing signs that their babies were resisting alien control. The parasites were still present, but their influence was being diluted by the power of human emotional bonds. Rex continued to coordinate the global animal resistance as the alien ship approached Earth. Enhanced pets in every major city were working together to sabotage transmitter networks and protect their human families. The aliens had expected to find a helpless planet ready for harvest. Instead, they were approaching a world defended by an army of intelligent animals united by love for their human companions. "Aliens coming tomorrow," Rex reported as he monitored the latest communications. But animals ready too. Network damaged and confused. Many enhanced babies protected by animal friends and human love. Aliens not getting what they planned. Katie went into labor as the alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Rex stayed by her side throughout the delivery, providing comfort and protection. Dr. Carter monitored both Katie and the baby for signs of alien influence while Agent Park coordinated the final phase of the defense plan. When Katie's daughter was born, she appeared completely human despite carrying the alien parasites. Her neural patterns showed enhancement, but the pathways were integrated with normal human brain development. Rex's protection and Katie's love had prevented the aliens from gaining control of another human child. Around the world, similar births were taking place. Enhanced babies were being born with remarkable abilities, but remained fundamentally human, thanks to the protection of enhanced animals and the power of human emotional bonds. The aliens' carefully planned invasion was failing because they had never understood that love could be stronger than technology. The alien ship had arrived to find a world that was ready to fight back using the invaders' own network against them. Enhanced animals and protected human children represented a new form of intelligence that combined alien technology with human emotion. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin, but humanity was no longer helpless against their technologically superior enemies.